Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the story of Venezuela, a nation that's just breathtakingly beautiful and sits on top of the world's largest oil reserves. And yet, it's caught in one of the most heartbreaking crises of our time. So how on earth did it all go so wrong?
You know, to really get how Venezuela got here, we've got to go way back, right back to the very beginning. And the whole story, believe it or not, kicks off with its name. Yep, Little Venice. Can you picture it? Early Spanish explorers sail in. They see these incredible homes built on stilts over the water. And they're immediately reminded of Venice, Italy. It's this beautiful, almost romantic origin that makes the chaotic history that came next feel even more jarring.
So let's dive into that foundational period. Before the oil, before all the revolutions, what was this place actually like when those first explorers showed up?
Well, long before any European ships arrived, this land was home to some really sophisticated and diverse indigenous societies. We're talking about peoples like the Arawak and the Carib. And these folks weren't just, surviving. They had built these complex communities that were perfectly tuned to their environment, whether that was high up in the Andes Mountains or deep in the Amazon rainforest.
Now, here's an interesting twist. Unlike a lot of other Spanish colonies that were dripping in gold and silver, Venezuela was kind of seen as a bit of a backwater by the empire. Its whole colonial economy was built on farming, things like cocoa and coffee, and of course the absolutely brutal system of enslaved labor. This fact, that it wasn't seen as super important, is actually a huge detail that really shaped its entire journey toward independence.
And that path to independence brings us to our next chapter, a period of really intense revolution and the messy, difficult birth of a new republic.
So in the early 1800s, Venezuela became the absolute heart of the independence movement in South America, all led by the legendary Simón Bolívar. This one battle, the Battle of Carabobo, it wasn't just a win for Venezuela. It was a massive, critical blow to the entire Spanish Empire in the Americas.
But winning the war, as it turns out, didn't mean winning the peace. The first 100 years of independence were anything but stable. After it broke away from this short-lived super country called Grand Colombia, Venezuela was just torn apart by conflict. It was dominated by a whole series of powerful military dictators they called caudillos.
Okay, this next chapter is a huge turning point. It's a discovery that would define and, you could argue, curse Venezuela for the next 100 years. Oil.
Finding those massive oil reserves in the early 20th century, well, it changed everything. It happened almost overnight. The country went from being this quiet, rural farming society to a global energy powerhouse. The transformation was just absolute.
And for a good while, all that oil money fueled some incredible progress. It paid for brand new highways, modern hospitals, schools, you name it. This prosperity was so real that it helped the country transition to a stable democracy in 1958, which was pretty rare for the region at that time.
But, and this is a huge but, there was a catch. This complete and total dependence on oil was a classic double-edged sword. It's what economists call the resource curse. When global oil prices were high, Venezuela was flying. But when they fell, the whole national economy could be brought to its knees. And this vulnerability, right here, is the key to understanding everything that came next.
All right, let's jump ahead to the end of the 20th century. All that dissatisfaction with the economic roller coaster, well, it was about to set the stage for a really radical political shift. Riding this powerful wave of popular anger against the old political system, a former military officer named Hugo Chavez gets elected president. He promised a total, complete overhaul of the country, and he called it the Bolivarian Revolution. So what did that look like? Well, Chavez's government used sky-high oil prices to pay for huge social programs. But at the same time, it took over key industries, it put strict price controls on goods, and it centralized political power in a major way, all in an attempt to radically reshape how the nation's oil money was used.
After Chavez died in 2013, his hand-picked successor, Nicolás Maduro, took over, but he inherited what was basically a perfect storm. The state-run industries were failing, the price controls had led to massive shortages, and then global oil prices completely crashed. You add crippling international sanctions and serious problems with internal governance to that mix, and the result was nothing short of a humanitarian catastrophe. The economy didn't just stumble, it went into a complete freefall. To try and cover its debts, the government just started printing mountains of money. This destroyed the currency's value and triggered one of the single worst cases of hyperinflation in modern history.
And that economic collapse led directly to just devastating shortages of everything. With the currency basically worthless and production at a standstill, supermarket shelves went empty. Hospitals ran out of basic medicine. For millions, life became a daily, desperate struggle to survive.
Faced with those impossible conditions, millions of Venezuelans made the heartbreaking choice to flee their own country. This exodus created one of the largest displacement crises in the entire world.
So, after all of that, this long, complicated, often tragic history, where does that leave Venezuela today?
I mean, this really gets to the heart of the paradox of Venezuela, doesn't it? It's a nation that was forged from a rich indigenous past and a truly heroic fight for its own freedom. But more than anything, its modern story is one defined by the incredible promise and the absolute peril of all that oil buried under its soil.
From little Venice to an oil giant to a nation in crisis, Venezuela's story is such a powerful and frankly cautionary tale about what can happen when you bet everything on a single resource. And it leaves us with this huge unanswered question. For a people who have been through so much, what does the next chapter hold?